Good evening.
Okay. I know, right?
I, Cassandra Phillips, Vice President of the Duncanville ISD Board of Trustees, call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of Board of Trustees is present, that the meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Our mission at Duncanville ISD is to engage, equip, and empower all scholars to achieve their unique potential. We will now move to opening ceremonies. Trustee Janet Vera Cruz will lead us in the invocation as we start the opening ceremonies.
Good evening. If you would just bow your head for a word of prayer. Father, we gather here as members of this board, and we thank you for calling us together this hour. It is our privilege and our responsibility to support, foster, and advance the kingdom. Thank you, Lord, for every seat that has been filled here tonight. I pray a blessing over each mind and heart as we come to set goals, visions, and solutions to all and any situations. We ask that you bless the students, educators, and staff members abundantly in this new season. I pray for overflow of wisdom and guidance over every campus. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Trustee Vera Cruz. Trustee Janice Savage Martin will lead us in the pledges. Thank you, Trustee Janice Savage Martin. We will now move on to the superintendent's report. I will now turn the meeting over to Dr. Smith.
All right, thank you, Trustee Phillips, and to board members and those that are here in attendance. I bring the following superintendent report items for you. The first item, board, and those that are in attendance, is just a legislative update. Each month, we are committed during the session to bring the board a legislative update. So just a few things that I want to share with you all. On Friday, March 10th, that was the final day for filing a bill during the session. And so any bills that were considered or up to be considered during the session have been filed. A point of note is that there have been over 1,300 bills that have been filed directly or indirectly that impact public education. And so that is 300 plus bills higher than past sessions. So that kind of gives you an idea of the heightened sense of awareness that's being put on education during this legislative session. Bills are still being assigned to the committees so that they can be heard throughout the House and the Senate. In the committee structure, the bills will be scheduled for hearings and either voted on, voted in or out, pending a number of issues. And so before the break, I shared with you a letter that our district partnered with 235 other school districts. And basically that letter was to the governor, and to the Commissioner of Education, and to the Education Committee chairs. And it was basically just to partner with other school districts on any changes related to the accountability system. And so, again, I shared the letter with you all, our signature, along with several other superintendents in the area. The changes would potentially have an historical impact on our school district and on other campuses. And it's really all associated with the scoring of the STAR exam and CTE scores in particular. And so what we are saying in the letter is that the campuses and districts could see big drops in lower performance due to the unfair and unrealistic raising of the cut scores. And the letter goes in detail about what we view as school districts is really an unfair approach this school year into raising those cut scores. Our hope, myself and the other 235 superintendents who participated and partnered in this letter, what our hope is that our voice will be heard and that the changes will at least put a pause until there can be a commissioner review of the state accountability system as a whole. We also provided feedback and written testimony on House Bill 1416. You may remember that as House Bill 4545 from a couple of sessions ago. It's really the bill that's centered on accelerated instruction for students that did not pass STAR. Well, the cleanup bill, I guess is a good way to phrase it, or the more updated bill, which is House Bill 1416, it's intended to clean up House Bill 4545. And so I had an opportunity to provide written testimony in support of the bill. There are still aspects that I think still need to be worked out. I shared that information in my written report. And so we'll be monitoring the bills that are scheduled for hearing and plan to testify or submit a written testimony, as I did for House Bill 45, on bills that would either support or counter one of the board's legislative priorities. Just as a reminder, board, our legislators, they have our board priorities that you adopted a few months ago leading into the session. We meet with them on a regular basis, review our priorities, and Dr. Halachka is my point person to go to Austin, and she makes sure that our priorities are at the forefront whenever our legislators are having committee meetings and discussions. So we're very engaged, very involved, very much a proponent of making sure our voice is heard as a school district. And so the legislative activity has definitely picked up. You've probably heard a lot in the news over the last several weeks about education savings accounts and about private schools and charter schools and all of that. You probably heard that in the news lately. This week, the big topic again is on vouchers. Dr. Halachka will be at the Capitol to ensure that, again, that our board priorities are communicated during the session. So we are very much in the mix. Our voice is very much being heard. We're advocating on the things that you have prioritized as a board, and we'll be continuing to bring you updates each and every month. And also, we had board members attend the board caucus it was at Round Rock, in Round Rock, what was it? It was 2 weeks ago, or was it last week during spring break? 2 weeks ago. So you were able to hear on first account a lot of the activity that we're talking about. So we'll continue to monitor and update you as we move forward. Next item, please. I got you. Did you want to? Okay.
I just wanted to say one of the most enlightening things that came from the Texas Caucus of Black School Board members was they highlighted that the bill says the savings account, but that's really for vouchers. And so when parents or educators or when people read those bills, just know that the savings account is for the people who will save money by sending their kids to private schools. So it's really a code word for vouchers. So it's pretty deceptive.
Very much so. Very much so. Thank you for that. We definitely are watching and monitoring all the activity associated with that. And being informed is very important, and that's the first step. So thank you for that. The next item I wanted to share with you is My Future, My Choice Showcase. Each year we have the My Future, My Choice Showcase. It's an opportunity to do several things. One, put on display the choice programs that we have throughout the school district. Two, we want to market those programs, and we want to have an opportunity for our parents to be able to get a front line view of what the kids are learning in those programs, get students to sign up for those programs. And so we had a great event. We had 345 families attend, just to share some of the data with you. 252 Collegiate Academy Choice applications came out of the showcase, 245 middle school choice applications. We had students from all across the district the districts near us have interest in Duncanville ISD. So it was a great showing. I had an opportunity, Trustee Veracruz was there, and we had an opportunity to visit a lot of the booths together. I am getting my blood pressure checked by one of the students in the health program at Byrd Middle School, and she did a really, really good job there. Made me feel very comfortable. So she's doing a good job, and they're doing a good job at that program. But it was a great event, and we are looking to continue to build all of our choice programs. This is a very important part of that process, and as you see, the data shows that we have a lot of interest, and we're going to move to the next step of getting those students connected. The next item is attendance. Attendance obviously matters. In order for our students to be successful academically, they have to be here. They have to attend school, but also their emotional support, their social development, their meals. There's a lot of other things that really take care of our students that are important for them to be at school. And so we prioritize attendance here in Duncanville. Myself and several other staff members, principals, teachers, we had several volunteers. This was right before the spring break. We went out in the neighborhoods, and we walked neighborhoods. Actually, we drove, but walked. We drove and walked neighborhoods and knocked on doors. And we basically talk to parents about how important it is for their kid to be in school. And we had an opportunity to leave information that was critical for the parents to get their kids back into school. We had several volunteers. We visited over 200 families on that day. And it made a huge, huge impression to see myself and other staff members literally, in their neighborhoods, knocking on doors, asking pretty much, how can we help you? What is it that we can do to help you? And so we had a great turnout. It was a great event. Ms. Brown did a wonderful job of organizing and mapping out all the logistics and made it possible for us to be able to just focus on having real conversations with parents just because of the way she organized everything. And so it was a great event. We're following up with the parents to make sure those kids did come back after the spring break, and we'll continue to follow up. But it was a great opportunity and a great event. We did get a lot of media coverage as well. The news media was here and was able to cover that event. So it was a really, really great event. The next item is the superintendent's roundtable. Throughout the course of the year, I meet with different community groups. This was one of those meetings. It was an opportunity for me to provide an update. This was our second meeting, actually. And it's an opportunity for me to meet key stakeholders, share updates about the district, and then get insight from various perspectives. We had a student that is pictured here with me. She's a freshman in the Collegiate Academy. In a room full of adults, she was able to share her thoughts and her suggestions, and her perspective was really good, really valid information. We have to be able to hear all kind of perspectives, and her perspective was very important for me. She added great value. But this is an opportunity for that to take place, and so we had great conversations. It was a great opportunity for me to share, for me to hear and listen, and we're going to continue that as we move throughout the course of the school year. The next report is on our Community and Public Relations Awards. I want to say congratulations to our Duncanville ISD communications team for winning 6 recognitions at the 2023 Annual Texas School Public Relations Conference in February. They got first place for Best of Category. They got third for Gold Star Awards and second for Silver Star Awards. And so I want to say a special thanks to our multimedia specialist, Hillary Hobson. Hillary, are you here? Oh, okay, she's back over here. If you could just kind of raise your hand and be recognized. Hillary does an awesome job for us. So we wanted to recognize her for all of her award-winning entries, all the social media, the videos that you see on the district. Hillary is a big part of the mastermind behind all of that, and she does a wonderful job. The team has already set their sights on more submissions for next year and anticipating that they will even have more winning submissions. So I want to say again, thank you to the Communications and Public Relations team. We got a few. We just have a lot of reports to celebrate on this month. The next item is Panther Pride. So Coach Pasos is our soccer coach, and they are district champs for the 28th time in program history. So we want to say congratulations to the soccer team and Coach Pasos. Also, tomorrow, our football team will be, in the morning, they're going to be heading to Austin. About 45 or so of our football players and our coaching staff, they're heading to Austin in the morning. They will be meeting Senator West, and they will get a tour of the Capitol. They will get to go on the Capitol floor, and this is going to be an opportunity for Senator West to be able to recognize our football team and Coach Sample. So it's going to be a great opportunity for our student athletes to tour the Capitol, to get an opportunity to meet Senator West and other legislators during the legislative session, and really to showcase Duncanville. And so we're really excited about the opportunity that they're going to have on tomorrow. The following players: Vernon Grant, Noah Ponce, Caden Durham, and Colin Simmons. These are the all-academic and all-state members. They are specifically the 4 students that are going to get to go on the floor. There's a limit of the number of students that they allow on the floor. So Coach Sample selected these 4 young student athletes to represent the district actually on the Senate and the House floor. So we're really excited about that. And then this Wednesday, board members, for those who may want to attend, will be the official McDonald's All-American jersey presentation for Ronald Holland. He's the #1 basketball player in the state of Texas. He's also been selected to be on the McDonald's All-American team, and he will have his event this Wednesday. And so this game basically showcases the best of the best basketball talent across the nation. It's going to be held on March 28th, and it'll be in Houston. And again, our own Ronald Holland will be participating in that. Next slide, please. I want to say congratulations to Marisol Hernandez. This is an awesome accomplishment. She was accepted into the United States Naval Academy. You all may remember from her board meeting in the fall when she sang the national anthem. You may remember her there. But we're really proud of her. The selection process is, I've been educated on this as well. I didn't know this prior to. But I've been educated since that the selection process is very, very rigorous. I mean, it's really hard to get this acknowledgement and this honor and this acceptance. So we are proud of her for being accepted into the Naval Academy. We know she's going to go do great things to support herself, her family, and represent Duncanville. And we're really, really, really proud of all that she's going to accomplish there. Also, next slide. In a similar way, Samantha Vila. We're excited also. That she has been accepted into the Air Force Academy with the launching of our JROTC program this year. And we are already having 2 students from those programs be accepted into these highly, highly competitive and prestigious programs is very, very promising. And we're really just getting started with our JROTC program. So we're grateful for Sergeant Atkinson and all the work that she's doing in her leadership and supporting these 2 students for this wonderful, wonderful accomplishment. That concludes the items on the superintendent report this evening. I'll turn it back over to Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. We will now move to recognitions. I will turn the meeting over to Mrs. Connie Wallace.
All right, thank you. Vice President Phillips, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith, I'll begin with our donations for this month. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, I'll just showcase them here. We've had, once again, our community steps up and they show out in providing support to our district, and so we thank them very much. Are there any questions about the donations that are listed here? All right, next slide or next presentation. Thank you. we'll go ahead and we will move right into recognitions, or some more recognitions for tonight. We are super excited. I know that last month, Dr. Smith had a chance to share with you guys and acknowledge our sparklers as well as our Special Olympics basketball team. And we are elated that they are in person with us tonight so that we can celebrate them. Yeah. So at this time, Ms. Thompson and Coach Hicks, I'm going to change it up just a little bit. So if you guys will just join me up at the podium, our two coaches, I would greatly appreciate that. So this is Miss Elizabeth Thompson. Come on up. And she leads our sparklers. And this is Coach Hicks, and he is our team coach for the basketball, the accolades and things that they won this year. And I'm just going to turn it over to you for a quick moment to tell us a little bit about the cheer competition that you guys engaged in this year.
Okay, so it was the first time that we were able to go to the Special Olympics state competition. We went directly to state because I guess there was no local. And our first time we got a bronze medal. We had five of our sparklers compete. And what else? And it was the national cheer competition for the whole entire nation that we kicked off. So it was really, really exciting and a lot of fun. So we had a great time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. So this was our first year that we were able to do Special Olympics basketball, and we were invited to a tournament in Cedar Hill. And we had about 3 weeks to get ready, and the students during the practices, you know, the students weren't as excited as I would like for them to be. So I was nervous when we went to the tournament, but when the ball was tipped off, I mean, they showed up and showed out. So, yeah. Yeah, and it was a great experience. We had a lot of support from the top down, and also the parents. And the parents made sure that the referees called the game fair. So it was a great experience. We look forward to many more. We have a few more events planned, and we'll keep you guys updated. Hopefully, you guys are able to attend and see exactly how the show that they're able to put on when they play. Yeah.
And they didn't just play the game, they were the first place winners in the tournament. So we have certificates for our sparklers, and we have certificates for our basketball players. And so here in just a little bit, before they go out to closed session, we're going to invite you guys back to the back to take a photograph. And you're welcome to have the students have their certificates out so they can show them with pride in the photograph. And then we also have a nice little gift bag for them as well. So, all right. So let's hear it for our basketball players. Basketball players, y'all want to stand, wave, recognize? And our sparklers, let's wave and be recognized. Stand up and be recognized. Yes. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you both. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith, at this time, I would like to move forward in the agenda to recognize another student, Mr. Bronson Hooper. Bronson, if you are, well, you are definitely in the building. Come on down, come join me. Hearing a lot about Bronson over the years, and we are super proud of you, so proud of you. Tonight, we are excited because you have been named a National Merit Scholarship finalist. So, this is very significant because out of 16,000 semifinalists, Bronson met all of the requirements to advance to a finalist status. And I asked Bronson right before the meeting, I said, hey, Bronson, what schools are you considering? And the list kept going. And then I was like, so what are you planning? I said, you know what? Why don't you tell the board and everybody? So what are schools that you're considering, and what do you plan to major in? Step up to the mic.
Okay. First off, I want to thank everyone for being able to attend this meeting tonight. What I plan to major in aerospace engineering, and the schools I'm interested in are MIT, Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Cornell, Johns Hopkins, UT, and that's about it. So, yeah.
All right. So, do you have family here celebrating with you tonight?
Yeah. My family's in the back. They're in the back over there. Right there.
So Bronson, we have something for you. It's just a small token of our congratulations to you and all that you will do. We are really excited for you. Once a Panther, always a Panther, so know that we are here for you. All right, so thank you for being here tonight. And we want to take a picture with you and the board president here in just a moment as well, so we'll let you know when I come back there, okay? Thank you. All right, now we're going to move into our recognition phase of this evening for our Made with Pride in Duncanville. And as you all know, each month we honor a student, a staff member, and a teacher who goes above and beyond. They are chosen from nominations that are submitted by coworkers, classmates, and community members. And these individuals reflect the excellence and pride of our district, and they are made with pride in Duncanville. So if I could invite Jimena Salas to please come and join me up here at the podium. Jimena is a third grader at Central Elementary School. You know what? Why don't you stand right over here so that Miss Hobson can also get you in that picture. You can stand right there. And I'm just going to talk all these nice things about you because you're awesome. Jimena is a third grader at Central Elementary School. She is full of curiosity. Jimena is a straight-A student, and she's in the Gifted and Talented program. In fact, she wants to know why there is world hunger because she wants to end it. Jimena is also a talented artist, and her drawings have been showcased on the Fall Artwork program at her school. She's been the Student of the Month. She's a part of the Robotics Club. And the teacher's aide in her classroom admires Jimena so much that she says that if she could go back and be 8 years old again, she would want to be Jimena. So this is why she is nominated and is our Made with Pride in Duncanville for our student category this month. Let's give Jimena a round of applause. All right, thank you, Jimena. And as Jimena returns to her seat, if her parents are in the building, if they will stand and be recognized. Yeah. Thank you. And at this time, if I could please invite Patience Elliott to join me at the podium. Patience is a second grade teacher at Hastings Elementary School, and her colleagues say that she is the best thing to come to Duncanville ISD. They say Miss Elliott has a heart for shaping and refining and growing students. She not only educates her students, but she also mentors her colleagues. She helps them become better professionals and educators. Keandra Mason, one of your mentees, nominated Miss Elliott because she is a problem solver who comes to campus leaders and staff with solutions to problems, not complaints. And so she describes you as the total person, and that is why you're made with pride in Duncanville. Congratulations. And do you have family here? If your family would like to stand and be recognized, all right, yes. And we're gonna call you back to have pictures in just a moment as well. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have Caesar Batres. If you'll please join me at the podium. So Caesar is an example of once a Panther, always a Panther. He is a former Duncanville ISD student who has returned as an employee. Caesar was described as someone who kept to himself when he was younger and here at school. However, according to his mom, Blanca Romero, she says that since he has joined our custodial team here in Duncanville, he is excited to go to work every single day, and he has made lots of friends. His mom says that he takes pride in his work, and he wants to prove that he is capable of moving up the ranks. And so Caesar takes pride in everything that he does, and that is why we believe you are made with pride in Duncanville. So congratulations. And do you have family here? You have family here with you tonight? And his family is here in the back. Wave so we can see y'all. So at this time, we have a video that we're going to show for our Made with Pride in Duncanville.
Duncanville ISD congratulates the following student, staff member, and teacher who are made with pride in Duncanville.
Hi, my name is Jimena. I'm a third grader at Central Elementary. I'll come in the class, I'll do my morning math. Miss Mercer writes a riddle. We try to solve it, and then after announcements, we jump straight into our day. I would like to be a zoologist. It is a scientist who studies animals, and if not, I would like to be a paleontologist. I love the way that we feel like we're all welcomed, and no one gets left behind or left out. And it is really important to make my parents proud. It just feels really good.
Hi, my name is Patience Elliott. I'm a second grade teacher at Hastings Elementary. I actually used to teach first grade, and I just loved my class so much that I moved up to second grade with them. And then I decided to stay in second grade just because I had a good supportive team and I really liked it. I think my favorite part of the day is when the kids come in. I love teaching in second grade because they're so excited about school, so they'll come in, what are we learning today? Or I missed you. And I think that when the kids know that a teacher cares about them, they're more willing to try harder, to push themselves past their limits. And so when they can tell that I care about them and I care about them learning and also just care about them as a person and that I actually like to be here, that I'm already happy with them regardless of their efforts, they put in more effort. So when I think about how I want my life to look like in the grand scheme of things, I think about the impact that I make on my students. So I believe that teaching is my purpose, and it's just natural for me to go above and beyond because I want them to succeed and I want to fulfill my purpose as well.
Hi, my name is Caesar Batres. I'm a custodian in the high school in Duncanville. When I first started, It was 8 hours, but they asked me if I could do overtime. There's still a lot of open sections available. We're missing a lot of people, so I was like, I don't mind working extra. So I think I was dominated because of my work ethic. Come in every day, I never complain, and try my best to help everyone else. A lot of work, but as long as I be consistent, then I can get everything done. What keeps me coming back to work is helping everybody. Good boss, just doing my part. Everybody's trying to help each other, try to finish before the day ends. So everybody is different, everybody works different. Me, I'm just so used to working. To me, it's normal, so I just use my skills just to help everybody else. So I see myself moving forward. I always have hope for, next position later on in time. Probably work my way up.
These honorees truly are made with pride in Duncanville.
All right, thank you. And so we do have a certificate for Jimena. We have a certificate for Miss Elliott and for Caesar. So if you will come and grab your certificate, and in just a moment, we're going to get some photographs of you guys. Oh, well, isn't that the most precious? Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Mrs. Wallace.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We will now move to communications from citizens to discuss pending agenda items before the board. And we do not have any communications from citizens regarding a pending agenda item, so we will now move to closed session. We are back from closed session, as you can see, and we will now continue with our agenda items. We will now move to take action on the items from closed session. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented to offer the one-year term certified administrator contract to the listed executive district administrators? Yes, Trustee
I move that we
Fahey.
approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented to offer the one-year term certified administrator contract to the listed executive district administration.
Trustee Fahey has moved,
So moved. Oh, second.
and Trustee Dr. Ivory has seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed? None. So motion has passed 6-0. Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented to offer the one-year non-certified professional contract to the listed executive district administrators?
Madam Vice President, I move that we approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented to offer the one-year non-certified professional contract to the listed executive district administrators.
Thank you, Trustee Vera Cruz. Trustee Vera Cruz has moved. Is there a
Second.
And thank you, Trustee Dr. Ivory has seconded. Dr. Ivory has seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion has passed 6-0. We will now move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to recommend that we move items 8C, D, G, and H to the consent agenda.
Trustee Janice Savage Martin has moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Janice Savage Martin has moved, and Trustee Dr. Ivory has seconded the motion to amend the agenda as stated. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Trustee Colton?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. I have a question regarding item 8C, clinical education agreement with Concord. I was wanting to know what the requirement is for background checks.
Okay, and let's see. Ms. Brown, would you, thank you.
Good evening. For background checks for anyone who is doing observation or clinical practicum in our district, we have the regular background check that we do just for our employees as well. So they received a pass to be at a campus. So we will follow that same process with this as well. It's like our student teaching process.
Is that microphone on? I'm having
It's
trouble
not,
hearing you.
I apologize. Hold on, let me see. It says it is.
Took so long, it's dead.
Testing. Does that work? That's low. I think it's on, but it's just low.
Thank you.
Break it. Do you need me to repeat it, Madam
Please.
Vice President?
Yeah, please.
Oh, it's going up now. So with our student teachers or those who are doing any practicum in the district, they are required to have a background check through the district, and they receive a pass in order to go on campus that ensures that they have gone through that process.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The reason why I was asking is because the agreement does not address the requirement for a background check for this particular one, but in the other item it does.
Yes, ma'am. Some of the programs require it, but in the district, we have a requirement as a district for anyone who's visiting.
That's great.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thank you, Trustee Colton, for the question. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? No? Okay, so the motion has passed 6-0. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So, second.
Okay, so Trustee Fahey has moved, and Trustee Janice Savage Martin seconded the consent agenda be approved as amended. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, motion has passed 6-0. Moving right along. We will now move to action agenda item A, Educational Leadership Development Partnership, and the presenter is Dr. Sam Nix.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Smith. This evening, I'm bringing for your consideration an opportunity for the Duncanville ISD to continue our partnership with the University of North Texas, Dallas School of Education in allowing opportunities for current Duncanville ISD employees to obtain a master's degree in educational leadership with a principal certification. As a review from our December meeting, just an update that we had in December, our first cohort, your commitment to move forward with a second cohort means that the district commits to paying 50% of the tuition for participants. As a reminder, we have a first cohort that consisted of 6 students, and at an estimated cost of $10,000 per student, we would end up investing approximately $31,000 for that first cohort, which is well under what we had originally estimated because of the number of participants that we had for the first cohort. We're hopeful that with a robust communication plan, multiple interest meetings, and the allure of this unique opportunity for our district, we will be able to populate a second cohort. Our goal is anywhere from 15 to 20 participants. That's our goal. This would mean an approximate investment of about $75,000 from our district, $75,000 to $100,000 for our district for these participants to earn their master's degree in principal certification through a pipeline of leadership through Duncanville. With your approval, Duncanville ISD, in partnership with the University of North Texas at Dallas, will begin the advertising campaign as early as this week if we're approved to move forward with a second cohort, with an aggressive timeline just for advertising, campaigning, and trying to get as many people involved in the process as possible. It's a great opportunity for pipeline of leadership for Duncanville, and I would like to entertain any questions that you may have about this process or the recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Nix. Do I have a motion to approve the Educational Leadership Development Partnership with UNT Dallas for a second cohort of participants covering 50% of participants' tuition?
So moved.
I got
Second.
3 movements here. Okay.
Big one.
Veracruz. Trustee Veracruz has moved, and Trustee Colton seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Dr. Ivory.
I have a question. Do we have any feedback from the principals of the schools where the cohort is currently serving, like how they've contributed more as unofficial campus leaders? Do we have any kind of evaluation or feedback from the principals?
Dr. Ivory, that's a great question. I would love to tell you that we have official feedback, but other than just communication about how they're doing, how they're progressing, we don't have anything official, but that is something that we can get the board if desired. As a part of, Dr. Goodman and I, as a part of when we finish the process, there's a process that we go through as we end of the year. We just haven't gotten there yet to determine what the value added is for each campus, what the principal's feedback has been, as well as the participant feedback for the cohort itself. So we've done a mid-year review, but that did not include feedback from the principals. So if interested, we can get that to the board.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I mean, as we continue to think about
Absolutely.
funding 50%, if the value isn't obvious or we don't know the principal's feedback, I think that's important.
Absolutely. We can get that to you.
I just want to
Trustee
comment, I
Savage
think this
Martin.
is a great program for our
Yes, ma'am.
teachers, easily approved by the board.
Yes, ma'am.
Easily.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Trustee Colton?
Dr. Nix, you had mentioned that that we would have loved to have had more participation. So do we know what the impediments to participation are?
You know, Trustee Colton, I would like to, now I'm going to speculate. I would like to think that as much of a great opportunity as this is, it's a commitment. And in our current culture and climate where so many individuals may feel overwhelmed, may feel the burden of just so much that's happening and going on, that this may be something going into leadership, going back to school, adding additional pressures to the family. You know, we found that it was quite a lift to try to get people to jump back on that train at the time that we did it. It will be interesting to see where we are now. It will be interesting to see, which is why, board, that we said we have a goal of 15 to 20.
That's good.
Because this is a great opportunity, but we do understand what it means. We understand that it's a commitment to go back to school, especially with everything that our teachers and our administrators are having to deal with now. And so I think the largest impediment is simply the commitment of adding that pressure, although with the support and help of the board. There's still a huge commitment there. And so thankfully, the people that have committed have done a great job and are doing extremely well in the program. And hopefully we can find those type of individuals moving forward.
So when do they take the exams?
Our first cohort takes their exam. Actually, they are to register. We talked to the university today. They're looking to register on the 28th of this month for that exam. And so that they should be registering the 28th, taking it next month, and hopefully all of them will pass the first time go around, and we won't have any issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Any other questions, comments? Dr. Ivory?
Do we offer any types of, like workshops for them, for the teachers that are taking the exam? Do we have anything apart from the university that we offer, like if they have questions on?
That's a great question. So they're going to take 2 exams. We as a district do not offer any programs for them or any workshops for them. But the university has an extremely high success rate with those students passing those tests. So I think they're up to 90-something, if not 100% of pass rate.
Okay.
But it's extremely high. The feedback that we have received is that our candidates are extremely prepared for that exam. All their practice test and exam, they've aced all of them. And so we have no reason to believe that they won't be successful. Now, it's an exam. And, you know, we think that they will do well. But if not, we'll be there to support them, and we know that it'll be a process that they'll get through. Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Okay, thank you, Dr. Nix.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'll stay here for the next one.
Yep. Okay, hold on just 1 second. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, motion has passed 6-0. And we will now move to action item. Wait, we moved. Action item B, consider approval of DHS Panthers Impact Summer College Tour on July 17th through the 29th of 2023. And the presenter is Dr. Nix, Dr. Sam Nix.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and Dr. Smith. This evening, I'm bringing for your consideration a wonderful opportunity for our students in what has become an annual opportunity for our students to attend a college tour, including HBCUs, elite public and private, and Ivy League universities. The students that will be attending this summer tour will benefit from experiencing these different campuses firsthand. I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege because Mr. Kane is here today. And Mr. Kane and his team, in partnership with CTE, have really provided great opportunities to expose our students to colleges and universities. We sat here today to watch this young man who mentioned Yale and mentioned MIT and mentioned these prestigious and Ivy League universities. If you spend 5 minutes with Mr. Kane, he's going to share with you the importance it is to make sure that these kids step foot on those colleges, have the experience of those universities. That's what this trip is intended to do for these students. This is a way to expose them to opportunities beyond what they are used to here locally. Of course, as you guys well know, at Duncanville High School, we offer a Pathways to College class, but that's just for seniors. So this is an after-school club. Last year, this was tied to YAG, which is Youth and Government. This year, it's tied to an after-school club called Panthers Impact, which is tied to CTE. And this after-school club is anyone who has an interest in attending college, has the opportunity to go this summer for this tour. As you have in your packet, you'll see that there are 20 students that will be attending, 16 males, I believe, and 4 females. Did I get that right? Opposite, 16 females, I'm sorry, and 4 males, with 8 chaperones, 4 male chaperones, and 4 female chaperones. And you can see that they won't be missing any school because it's summer, but that they, and I don't know why Mr. Kane would do this, but put himself in an SUV and drive around the country along with their chaperones with these young people. I was just being facetious there, but a great opportunity to drive around the country and expose our students to these wonderful opportunities. We, of course, have Mr. Kane here to help answer any questions logistically that you may have, but board, it'd be my pleasure to answer anything that you may have at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Nix. Do I have a motion to approve the Youth and Government Summer College Tour as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Janice Savage Martin moved, and Trustee Fahey seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
I would like
Dr. Ivory?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any particular reason why we chose several SUVs over maybe one bus or mini or something that all the students could be together?
When we reached out to CTE, as Dr. Nick said, first I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. But when I reached out to Ms. Wilkerson, that's the procedure that they do just because of safety. They prefer using SUVs over like a 12-passenger van that just liability-wise, they feel more comfortable using SUVs over 12 or 15-passenger vans.
What about bus?
Getting a charter bus,
School.
No, we wouldn't do a school bus around the country.
Yeah.
We have good ones. We have those Panther buses. Don't you think?
I mean, I just think when it comes to, taking kids for 12 days with, luggage, a school bus might be a little bit difficult. And we actually looked into a charter bus, but a charter bus was over 20 grand for those 12 days.
Wow.
So, we were able to, I think CTE is like $3,200 for the 4 SUVs.
That answers my
Good
question.
thought.
Yeah.
It was financially feasible.
Trustee Savage Martin.
I would also like to thank you for bringing this idea. Back during the Stone Age, I attended Duncanville High School, and I did get to go to one campus because I was on student council, and I went to that school because I got to see it. So it really is true. Really is true.
I do just want to reach to that point. I know Dr. Nick said last time we did this, I was telling him earlier that last time we did this, we took 16 students, and 10 out of those 16 went to one of those universities that we went to, including, Ivy League. Sebastian Cabales went to UPenn. Jose Moreno went to Emory University. So it works. It's like, once you feel yourself being there, it's like you know how to dream. It's easy to dream, right? But if you can actually touch it and feel it, it makes that dream a reality.
So good.
Dr. Ivory.
Last one. When you are promoting Impact, the after-school program, do they know ahead of time that the college tour is a part of it or that happens toward the end?
So we don't actually go through the Go Center. We actually take several college trips during the school year. So that's actually part of the program itself. This year saying, hey, we've been to UT, we've been to A&M, we've been to UNT, we've been to U of H, we've been to 7 different local universities already. So we tell them, hey, sophomores, juniors, here's an opportunity. Now that you're going into, going to be a senior, hopefully you're taking pathways to college. Here's this opportunity where you can actually experience schools outside of Texas, right? Instead of, the local trips that, we take you during the school year.
Trustee Vera Cruz.
So is this list locked? So the ones that are on this list, is it locked? No
So
more
we
can
actually
get on?
had those kids, the officers of Panther Impact, came up with the criteria, right, to go on the trip, and it mirrored what colleges look for. So the kids actually had to be in different organizations. The kids, we looked at their SAT score, their PSAT score, their class rank. So they had we had a parent meeting. Everyone submitted the information. I think we originally had 32 kids that wanted to go on the trip, and we narrowed it down to the top 20 by using the criteria that the students came up with.
Wow.
And those are how the 20 kids were chosen.
Impressive, thank you.
Well, I think all of my questions have been answered. But I will ask, how many students do you have in total in YAG right now?
YAG or Panthers Impact?
I'm sorry, Panther Impact.
So I think 285. If you give me 2 seconds, I can look on my
No,
phone.
that's fine.
I
That's
think
fine.
it's around 285.
Wow.
So that's one of those things that this year, with partnership with Ms. Wilkerson and the Go Center, we took over Panthers Impact. I think last year they had less than 30. I said, let me take it over. This is my passion. I've known you for a decade, right? I want kids to get into college, right? And we've talked about it. I think the way to do that is reach them at a younger age. And I think we actually started Panther Impact clubs at the middle schools as well. So now they can roll in from the middle school and now just get connected as soon as they walk in their freshman year. hey, this is what you need to do to get into college. This is what colleges are looking for. Because the game is very fluid, right? It's not old school anymore where it's just SAT or class rank. It's about different organizations, right? Community service hours, a whole bunch of different things that students need to know coming in their freshman year.
Okay. I do have one more question, but I'll let Dr. Ivory ask hers because she's probably mine too.
Is there any particular reason why we don't have any freshmen?
Well, we just felt that freshmen, a lot of that information when it came to like class rank and GPA is not available. I would love, I think students should be able to have that as early as the end of their freshman year. I would hope in the future that yes, after their freshman year, we can take them on their tour. It's just I don't have that information.
I would hope in the future that even some of the students that don't meet that certain criteria, I would hope that we could allot a certain amount of seats for students that don't meet that criteria, because it could also be the impetus for them coming back doing something different. So I hope that's something that we'll consider, and also consider freshmen as well. Research says we usually start college talking and activity really late. So
I agree.
If we could do middle school and freshmen for sure, I think that's a good target.
I completely agree, and hopefully in the future, we're sitting this time next year and I'm saying, well, now I have 32 kids or I have 64 kids.
I would love
and we're
that.
trying to figure out a way to pay for everyone to go.
Yes.
But I agree with you. We do need to start earlier and have, either, 8th graders or freshmen, on a trip as well.
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to the SUVs. How many SUVs and who's driving these SUVs?
4 SUVs and the teachers, myself, Mr. Harrell, Ms. Lamone. 6 out of the 8 chaperones are actually Duncanville ISD employees. The other 2 are both in education, which is my wife. She went on the tour before, and Mr. Harrell's wife, who's a professor at UTA. So all 8 of us are in education and are used to dealing with kids, and we'll be driving the SUVs.
Thank you, Mr. Kane, and thank you for this work that you're doing over the summer for our
Absolutely.
students. We really
Absolutely.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
We just thank you for the opportunity and allowing us to, give them that experience and that exposure.
Thank you.
Well, just one more point, talking about the SUVs.
Go ahead.
The SUVs, they also allow us, in the event that anything happens, whether it be illness, anything of that nature, to bring a percentage of children back without disrupting a trip for others. So it just allows flexibility with the trip.
That's good. That's good. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. Motion has passed 6-0. Thank you, Dr. Nix, and thank you, Mr. Kane.
We appreciate Mr. Kane's enthusiasm.
Yes,
Yes,
we do.
absolutely.
Okay, we will now move to action item E. Hop Skip Drive contract exceeding $50,000. The presenter is Ms. Mari Zamora.
Good evening. Hop Skip Drive is a rideshare company very similar to Uber, which we utilize for our students in special circumstances. Mr. Brad Hamrick, our Director of Transportation, is here, and he's going to share more information on how we utilize their service to serve our students.
Thank you, Mrs. Zamora. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Smith, members of the board. It's my pleasure to stand before you this evening to offer a better transportation solution for our McKinney-Vento and JJAAP scholars. Excuse me. Under the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, Duncanville ISD is required by federal law to provide transportation to and from school for any scholar qualifying as homeless or displaced. Qualifying for this program is overseen by our Student Services Department. Pre-COVID, this program, it was funded and we solely by transportation. But due to staffing issues, that's caused some other issues which y'all all know about. But even before COVID, when we were able to do this, we were picking kids up at 5 a.m., bringing them into school, putting them on other buses, sending them to their campus, and they may not get home till 7 o'clock at night, depending on where they lived. We did runs as far away as Fort Worth, Richardson, Rockwall, those areas. So we bring kids in from all over the Metroplex. And they are entitled this because of this McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. It's a federal program. Although we were able to get them there, 14-and-a-half-hour days aren't real conducive for learning. Doesn't promote any family time after school, time to do homework, or even have a job if that's necessary, for their family. So, Hop Skip Drive is a rideshare service that is currently being utilized by the Transportation Department. This MOU and renewal allow for transportation of eligible scholars, such as those attending the Dallas County Juvenile Justice Alternative Education Program, better known as JJAEP, as well as scholars classified as homeless or displaced under the McKinney-Vento Homeless Act. Hop Skip Drive offers a great deal of confidence and safety that we all need when it comes to our scholars. So what does Hop Skip Drive provide? Basically, it's like an Uber service for those scholars that qualify. It's customized ride times based on your bell schedule, and it even includes their extracurricular activities. So if a scholar was in football or cheer or whatever, those rides can be customized to get them back to their residence. By minimizing ride times, it creates a better educational experience and frees up time for homework, work, and family time. Additionally, their service is available on any school day, any day that we are in school. So makeup days, anything that crazy happens, if we're in school, this service is available for them. Hop Skip Drive provides fully vetted background checks on all drivers and offers an app that provides the parents, guardians, and scholars with information on their driver. Very much like Uber. Gives you a description of the car, the name of the driver, dates and time of pickups, and those things. Very similar to Uber, like I mentioned, allowing parents and guardians and scholars the comfort of safety and protection needed as they are transported. The Hop Skip Drive, man, that's hard to say. I keep wanting to say hop, skip, jump. The Hop Skip Drive rideshare service meets the individual needs of our scholars in both the McKinney-Vento and JJAEP programs. Therefore, we are recommending board approval of the Hop Skip Drive MOU and renewal exceeding $50,000. This program will be funded from the McKinney-Vento side by the federal programs. The JJAEP side would come out of transportation funds. It would be my pleasure to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Do I have a motion to approve the MOU and renewal with Hop Skip Drive, Inc. in excess of $50,000?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Veracruz, Trustee Janice Savage Martin moved, and Trustee Fahey seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion for Mr. Hamrick? Trustee Veracruz.
Yes, thank you. So you use the term Uber. So my question is, does this company provide a fleet of cars, their own fleet of cars, a selection of type of a car, or is it that they have their personal driver and their personal car?
It's their personal car, but the car is marked much like an Uber. It's got an orange sticker in the window signifying that it is a Hop Skip Drive vehicle. A description of that vehicle is given to them. But yeah, it's basically, the vehicles are owned and operated by the individuals.
By the individual.
The individuals are employees of Hop, Skip, Drive.
So my concern is safety, if it's their individual car.
Mhm.
So I would like to think
Mhm.
that their car
Yes, ma'am.
is
Yes, ma'am. Their cars are,
checked.
yeah, their cars are checked. They're all state inspected, legally registered. I won't say new, but I think the oldest vehicle I've seen that I remember seeing was like a 2018. It's like a Toyota, so.
Okay, I have one more question. So in your discussion, you were mentioning that they would service our school. Is it just our school or other schools?
Oh, it's,
Are they committed to us?
no, they serve every school in the Metroplex. Our drivers, we can request certain drivers, and we are given drivers that serve us, but they will also serve other districts, because once they drop off here, they'll go pick up somebody else and take them based on bell schedule.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Trustee Fahey?
I think I may have misunderstood you. Every district is required to provide transportation.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say that we're going to other cities, that we, Duncanville?
Yes,
Well, why
ma'am.
would their school districts provide?
And we do split. We are required to provide half that transportation. So
Why?
Hmm?
Why?
Federal law.
Okay, don't listen.
That's the simplest answer I can give. Yeah, the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act requires federally
Okay.
that these
Answers it
kids
all.
that, for whatever reason, become displaced, that we,
Trustee
and we will share that cost with whatever district they are in.
I'm good.
Trustee Veracruz?
I'm good. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Trustee Colton?
How much do we spend on a typical month, or what did we spend for the last 12 months?
The last 12 months, I'm not sure. Typically, it runs about, depending on the number of trips, the federal side will run anywhere from 25 to 40,000. The JJAP side, the most we've spent for transporting JJAP is, I think, 4,000 in 1 month. And but it's all based on the number of kids that ride and how far out they are. So, if we're making 2 trips a day to Fort Worth, which we did last year for an extended period of time, it gets rather expensive, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so about 30,000 a month?
30,000 a month, yes, ma'am, give or take.
Okay.
There'll be months that run more and months that are less, yes, ma'am.
So you indicated that other districts around us are using the same company to provide service?
Other districts around us, yes, we split that. So like, we will either pick them up and bring them in, or we'll take them home.
Okay.
What other districts use it? Oh, Mesquite, Garland, Allen, Dallas, I mean, just about, because it's required by everybody, and it's just because of drivers, I mean, we're not the only ones that have a driver shortage. So they're finding other ways to provide this service for their scholars. Yes.
Mr. Hamrick, I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
On the Exhibit B, the fee for Exhibit B, it says that the fee had changed
Yes, ma'am.
to $26 base fee plus $2.50 per mile. What was it prior to that? Because I didn't see it in my notes.
26. I want to say it was 20. It was
It says 26.
24. I don't have that number. It was 23 or $24 was the base fee. 23. 23 was the base fee, plus the mileage rate,
Okay.
and that changed in August, I believe. January. Sorry. Yeah, that just changed. Hence the renewal.
Okay, because I was online and I saw their fee was $17 plus $1.50, so I was just wondering where the difference was coming in at.
Say again. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that's
okay.
better. Thank you.
I just need to get closer
Thank
to
you.
the mic. Okay, I was online and I saw the fee was $17 base and then $1.50.
That depends, and it varies by where you are at in the country.
Okay.
Because so our rates are much less than they are for California. There's other places of the country that their rate would be less because of it's just the economics of where they're at.
Okay, okay, got it.
Madam,
Okay.
Go ahead.
One second. How many students have we serviced through JJAEP, since that's what we're responsible for?
Right now, we have 2 that
Just
we're
2?
servicing. Yes, ma'am.
And, okay. Thank you. Dr. Smith?
Okay, thank you, Madam Vice President. There's a couple things that I want to make sure we clarify. One, I want to call Dr. Jordan up. If you can speak to the homeless issue. I think that's important that we understand what that is. Why would we even have to service a homeless student that lives, we may know that in the education world, but we need to make sure we clarify that.
Good evening. So when we talk about homeless students and providing transportation outside of Duncanville, those students are Duncanville ISD students. So it could be that they are Duncanville ISD students enrolled, and during their time they became homeless, and the only place that they have provided or found housing is somewhere outside of our district. So they're our students, but they may live in Dallas, they may live in DeSoto. It may be temporary, it may be long-term, but because they are our students, we are required by law to provide transportation for them. So we do have students who have short-term, we have students who have long-term, but they do belong to Duncanville ISD. So we're not going to Dallas to get Dallas ISD students. They are our students.
Thank you. The second thing I want to make sure we clarify is the safety piece. It's a very legitimate concern, and I want to make sure we address that issue. So we need to, as a staff, we got to dive a little bit more into the safety concerns. Somebody needs to speak to that. Brad, I don't know if you're the person to do that, but we need to be able to address the safety piece.
Okay. As far as the safety piece, it's not a school bus, obviously. But their track record of safety of the districts that I'm familiar with, namely Mesquite, Garland, and Allen, are the 3 that I deal with most, that I have contacts in. Out of all the kids that they transport, I know of 1 accident that's been reported. And it's going to happen. I mean, it could happen if they were in a school bus or anything else. Nobody was injured. There were no injuries at the scene. It was just a minor accident, but as far as safety, their drivers are vetted. They've got clean driving records. I mean, they're not just going out and hiring somebody off the street with a car. So.
Dr. Ivory?
Are we?
And the other piece of that, thank you for reminding me, is the app. So, I mean, as far as knowing where your kids are at, we don't have access to the app. We don't have access to see where all the kids are at. But the parent has access to that, and the scholar has access to that. So they're able to see where their kid is, okay? So it's basically the same as the app that we're using. Where's My Bus? It's that same concept that they're using, and they're tracking the cars, and they're able to see when the car gets there, when the car leaves, and where that car takes their kid, their scholar, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Hamrick. One more question for you. Actually, I have like 5, but I'm only going to ask you one. No. Trustee Veracruz has a question, and then Trustee Colton, and then I'll ask mine.
Okay, can I share a little bit about their safety? So the parents not only can communicate through the app, they have a direct connection to Skip Drive, so parents can also communicate with them. They can also call the district, and then we can make sure we're in direct communication if there's any concerns with safety. And then they are very responsive. There was an incident earlier in the year where a parent was concerned, and they could trust it immediately. And so they're very responsive, and so we've seen that from them. So they take the safety of our kids very, very seriously. So.
You know what, speaking about that, let me just ask this question right quick, please. Scenario, if we had an intermediate student, the app wasn't working, how would they know what car to get into? What happens at that point?
So most of the time it's the same driver. So typically, it's the same driver that will go and pick them up. So it's not, they don't usually change drivers. It's typically the same individual, so they're aware of who it is. If there's any changes, Hop Skip will call them, or they will communicate with us. And then Tamika Haynes, who is our manager, she can contact the parent and let them know as well.
So all of the students receive the same driver every time?
For the most part, it's the same driver that they receive, so they already are familiar with the routes. So yes, so if that's the driver picks you up, that's typically the same driver you're going to get every day.
Okay, so I'm talking about the intermediate student that has their phone in their face and they're not paying attention, and the app's not working, then what? Somebody pulls up, and it's not the right car, what do they do?
Do they receive a call?
I mean, besides not get in, but if they're not
Yeah,
paying
yeah,
attention,
but
remember,
besides
they're not
not
paying
getting in the car.
attention. They're not paying attention because they're on their cell phone doing whatever.
So like they missed their ride, or a car just shows up?
A car just shows up
okay.
and the app wasn't working, so they weren't able to see what that, maybe their driver's sick that day.
So there is a password that is specific to that scholar that they use. The driver is also dressed in an orange shirt. It's got the logo on the front, says Care Driver on the back, and the car, like I said, has the decal in the window signifying that it is a driver. If the scholar is concerned about getting in that car, of course, call their parent, call us, and we can double check that before they get in any car.
Okay, and you all share that with the students?
That is all shared with the students
And their parents?
And the parents and the initials. And when we set that up initially, that's all part of the process, that we've got this big script that we go through, and it's all part of the process as far as step-by-step on what to do in certain situations. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Oh.
On page 71 is the limits of liability, and that's pretty extensive for the company. They're called the contractor. So that's good coverage, very good coverage.
It's good coverage, but if.
I know, you don't want to have to use it, but
I'm
for a
saying
company to
child.
say, this is what our minimum coverage is saying, I'm pretty strong on this.
Thank you for that. Trustee Veracruz, did you still?
Yes. I just wanted, for the record, what age group is getting in the car? What age of student is getting in the car?
We transport, they will transport K through 12.
But it did say that if they're a certain age, under a certain age, the parent has to be there to pick them up
Yes.
and when they're
Yes,
dropped
ma'am.
off.
They follow pretty much the same guidelines we do. Under a certain age, we require parents to be there to pick up kinder and under. They do the same thing.
Thank you.
And just for the record, if a parent is not there, they won't just leave the kid.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Trustee Fahey, did you still have a question? Okay.
I have a question.
Trustee Colton?
So if the parent is not there for any age kid?
Yes.
Oh, high school,
No.
senior?
It was under what age? Is it under 10? I can't remember. I saw it. It's a younger one.
Okay, yeah, I guess my question, I was wondering if there was a reason why we wouldn't want to receive notification, related to the kids actually reaching their destination and that sort of thing.
And that information is given through the app to the parents.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was just wondering if the school had considered having access to that information, or if there would be some reason why we would not.
We have a website and we can track it.
Okay, you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see when they've been picked up and dropped off, yes, thank you.
Okay, good, yeah.
Miss Hames,
Yeah,
she's the one that watches all that.
Okay, that's
But yeah,
wonderful.
it's very interactive. She could see when they were picked up and when they were dropped off.
Okay, and then I would like to address the fee. I guess the agreement is from January of last year?
No, January this year.
We're
Yeah,
renewing.
yeah, the new one is the original one is went from January to January.
Okay,
Okay, the new one, it goes from January to August because of fiscal year changes.
okay. It was January 13, 2022.
Yes, to January 13th of '23.
Okay.
And
so-
this is the new one, yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So I guess the fee in the original Exhibit B, the fee was $23 base fee and $2.50 per mile.
Yes, ma'am.
So in looking at the proposed amendments to the contract, the fee is $26 base fee plus $2.50 per mile. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
just wanted to make that clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I noticed that the term of the proposed amendment is through July 31st, 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was initiated in January of last year. So I guess are they just trying to fix the end, or what is the reason why it's July 2023?
It's July 2023 because that coincides with our fiscal year and
Okay.
their fiscal year. So in June, May, June, they go out and co-op does the basically reassessment of the pricing. So any price increases will come in July and August. So if there's any price changes, it will come in July and August. In order to stay within the confines of the contract, for their sake and ours, so that they don't, so they can't come back and back bill us for services already rendered, then we did it in July, and then we'll start over on August 1 with a new contract for that will go from August to July.
Okay, so we will probably see another.
We'll see another
One
one.
of these.
Yeah, if there's any price changes, then we'll see another one in hopefully late June, early July, so that we'll have it ready for when we start school in August.
So the fiscal year end, Dr. Smith? Yeah. June, yeah,
Yeah,
June.
Yeah, ours ends June 30th, begins July 1. There, so we have we have multiple things going inside the fiscal year, but our financial year will more closely align with theirs.
But thank you all for looking at options, because we are, short.
Hey.
We would love probably to be able to transport everyone, but
Yeah.
we are short.
We would love to be able to offer
Yeah.
this kind of service in-house.
Yes.
But, it's going to be a while before we get to there. Hopefully, we will one day, though.
Thank you.
Anything else?
So do I understand that we are going to see this, we're approving, or you're asking us to approve this contract through July, and then we're going to do it again if the fees increase?
Yes.
Again?
Or if there's any change in fees, yes, ma'am. So we'll do it again in July.
So they just went up $3. Okay. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Dr. Ivory?
So are we saying are we staying with Hop, Skip, Drive because we've been with them, or because they are still more, it's cost effective? We've compared it to other services.
The other services that we've compared it to are about the same. The thing that we found in comparing with the others and in talking with the other districts that use other services, there is one other service that we're looking at that we may bring to you at a later date that's comparable to Hop, Skip. The other is their customer support and their communication back and forth with us and with the parents, or at least with the other districts that I've communicated with. It's not as robust. It's
Okay.
not as forthcoming as the communication that we get from Hop, Skip.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamrick. Thank you, trustees, for the questions. Okay. Any other comments, questions, or discussion? All in favor? Please raise your right hand. Opposed? Before I call this, Trustee Colton asks for numbers. I would really like to see those numbers also.
Okay.
To date, how much has been spent
Okay.
through this program?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
That was, okay, the motion has passed 6-0. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Hamrick. Thank you, Ms. Zamora. Okay, we will now move to action item F, consider approval for the 2023-2024 academic calendar, and the presenter is Dr. Jaretha Jordan.
Good evening, Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. It is my pleasure to present to you a proposal for the 23-24 academic calendar. So the options that I will be sharing with you tonight were developed by the Calendar Committee. The Calendar Committee consisted of approximately 50 parents, teachers, staff, students, campus administrators, and then central office staff members. And our primary goal was to ensure that each campus had a representative present to participate in the committee. This dynamic group of individuals met after school, and they worked on reviewing sample calendars from all over the Metroplex. They brainstormed any concerns and solutions. They represented their campuses and their departments, and they collaborated on what was best for all students. This year, the committee prioritized the 4 areas that you see. They wanted more PD days in August, a midweek start for students. They wanted to continue with a 1-week fall break, and they wanted to have more PD days embedded throughout the year. As I share with you the options, I will talk a little bit more about the PD days in August versus throughout the school year. Next slide. So here's an overview of the 3 calendar options. Really what I'm providing you is the first day of school, the last day of school for students, fall break, any PD days, and the total number of instructional days. So as the committee met, we looked at a Monday start and a midweek start. We had students and staff members both recommend a midweek start. And the reason why they liked a midweek start, especially at the high school, is we could have an A day and a B day, get students acclimated, and then we could jump full in 1 week. They also like it at the elementary school because it gives our littles a little time to acclimate to being back in school. So you'll see the different start dates for A, B, and C. Then we also prioritize school ending before Memorial Day. So all 3 calendars have the students getting out before Memorial Day. As stated earlier, we have fall break for 1 week, and then we have professional development days built into the calendar. If you look at option A, B, or C, they all have 13 or 12 days. When I talked about the committee prioritizing the days for back to school versus throughout the year, the easiest way for me to think through that is the back to school PD days allows us to provide just-in-time PD. It is allowing our teachers and staff members to get ready to receive our students, just to get the ground going. I refer to the back-to-school PD days like an appetizer, right? It's not enough to sustain us, but it kind of fills us up while we're waiting on the main meal and the entree. The PD days throughout the year, it's the entree. It's our meat and potatoes. It allows us to build the capacity in our teachers. We have guest educators. We have our teachers in our TAP program, our teacher apprentice program. So we have a lot of teachers who need support throughout the year. So it's important for us to have days in the beginning, chips and salsa or queso, and then days throughout the year, which is that main meal. If you notice, this year we're presenting to you 3 calendars with 174, 175 days. For the past couple of years, we've had a 180-day calendar, and that was important as we worked through the COVID climb. Right? Our students needed to be in school more. We wanted to be able to close the gap. We wanted to be able to front load or jump start. But what we've discovered is our kids have recovered well. And so now we need to focus on our teachers. Not that students are not important. We have a rich, epic summer learning academy that we've put together, so we know that we can close those gaps in the summertime with our students. Now we really need to focus on building the capacity of our teachers so they are prepared to receive the students that we have. The total number of minutes still allows for us to have bad weather days. So although we're moving from 180 days, we still have, depending on which calendar option we select, 5 to 6 bad weather days built into the calendar. So this year we had 4 ice days. We had about 11 days built into our calendar, so we don't have to make those up. Even though we're decreasing the number of days, we still will be okay with our bad weather days. Next slide. So now I'll go through briefly just the option A, B, and C. For each calendar option, I gave you just highlights. Then I gave you the days for teachers and students first semester and second semester, and then the total number of days. I would like to call your attention to first semester versus second semester. You may see that we have more days in second semester, and that is normal. The reason why is we're in state testing. We have a lot of things that happen in the spring, and so we like to have a few more days built into the calendar for our students. Calendar option A, we have a school starting the third week in August. We end before Memorial Day, we have a fall break, and we have 5 professional days built in throughout the year. The goal is really to try to have a 9 weeks and then a professional development day, a 9 weeks and then a professional development day. Next slide, please. Option B has school starting the second week in August, so a little sooner than option A, still ending before Memorial Day. But if you look at option B, we have 7 back-to-school PD days. We have the 1 week for fall break, 1 week for Thanksgiving, our late holiday return in January, which was a huge hit with the staff this year. It gave them more time to just kind of recoup from the holidays before they return back. And then students in school before Memorial Day. So we tried to, in calendar B, really build in all the things that we heard from parents, from teachers, from staff to make sure that we meet everyone's needs. Next slide. Calendar option C, again, has students starting the second week in August. Fall break is still there. It has 6 professional development days, but you'll notice in calendar option C, our first semester has 93 teacher work days, 94 teacher work days second semester, and then 85 student days first versus 90 the second day. Next slide. So we administered a survey because we really wanted feedback. The committee was dynamic. We appreciate what they did, but we also wanted to hear from our stakeholders. So we opened the survey March 1st. It closed on March 15th. The survey was administered in both English and Spanish. We had 4 main groups of stakeholders: parents, community members, staff, and then students. And then we had 1,124 responses to our survey. Next slide. So I have a caveat for you here. The slides that you have in your board book are just placeholder slides. In fact, those are our calendar survey results from last year. Because the window opened March 1st and went through March 15th, we did not have the data to show you before your board book was printed. So I'm going to refer to the slides on the screen. So we asked 2 main questions. What is your role in Duncanville ISD? And we had 49.5% of our responders were staff members. Then we had 421 parents respond, which is about 37.5%, 113 students, and then 34 community members respond. So again, what you see in your board book's going to say that there's about 1,700, that's last year's, this year 1,124. Next slide. And the second question we asked them is, which calendar would you like to see for the 23-24 school year? Again, the calendar survey was in English and Spanish, but with a huge majority is calendar option B at 67.8%, and that was the majority for staff, for parents, for students, and for the community. And then A was second with 22.3%, or 251% of the votes, or 251 members voted for it. Next slide. So sharing all that information with you, hearing from all of our community members, thinking about the priorities of the committee, it is our recommendation that the board adopts calendar option B for the 2023-2024 academic calendar. I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
Do I have a motion to approve calendar B as presented for the 2022, 2020? No.
Right.
It says, okay, let me start over because I didn't catch this error here. Do I have a motion to approve calendar B as presented for the 2023-2024 academic school calendar?
So moved.
Trustee Janice Savage Martin moved, and Trustee Fahey seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Dr. Ivory.
My question is for the PD days, Are any of those just teacher work days, or how's that divided up? I'm just wondering if teachers have some time built in for grading and other things.
So I have two responses for you. One, there's 3 teacher work days built into the calendar. In addition to those 3 teacher work days, once the board approves a calendar, then we will get with Dr. Smith and senior leadership team and designate what we will do with the remaining 9 days. So minimum 3 teacher work days, but it could be more.
Nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comment, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passed 6-0. Thank you, Dr. Jordan.
Thank you.
We will now move to action item I, facility study contract. The presenter is Dr. Mark Smith.
All right, thank you, Madam Vice President, other board members. Obviously, from our last board meeting, we presented to you facility study. We had our first conversation about a potential bond program, and we have committed each month to be able to build on that conversation. We talked about the timeline, when we needed to make a decision, and part of that is to approve the facility contract so that we can begin the facility study process. And so I've asked Mr. Andre Brackens, who is here, if you could come up. I've asked him to come up and present the information for you today and answer, of course, any questions that you may have. So at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Brackens.
All right, thank you, Dr. Smith, Madam Vice President, and members of the Board of Trustees, and again, Dr. Smith, thank you for this opportunity. You have before you consideration for a facility assessment proposal and contract from Huckabee Architects, and in this presentation, I also would ask that you reference an exhibit that's been provided for you that gives it's comprised of the task and the respective values of the itemized costs. So I will be referencing that.
And just for logistic purposes, they were getting organized here, so the board has a hard copy, and they're putting it in front of them now. I think everybody has it in front of them, so we're all good. We're on the same page now. You have yours. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Smith.
Yep.
So why is an updated assessment necessary in 2023? As we begin researching and looking at some of the information, this is basically a tool that gets placed in your hands. Why is it necessary? It documents the deficiencies when compared with your established standards throughout the district. Item 2, it serves as a tool for making decisions. It basically lets you know about the future of the district as it relates to your facilities and some of the things that you can look at where they measure up in terms of the district's mission. Okay? The third thing is that it allows for determination of the level to which the facilities are consistent and provide a reasonable level of equity, which is important across all district facilities for all learners, and it provides a baseline of data and pricing for the district to strategically plan and prioritize. And again, in 2014, we did, Huckabee, we did do a district-wide facility assessment, and this would build upon that, and it is certainly time to refresh and update that so that you have a decision-making tool. Next slide, please. So the core components for a 2023 study are basically what the proposal and the contract is comprised of, are basically 3 main items that you see there: the facility study and space utilization analysis, the long-range planning and master plan development, and then also the bond program development and informational campaign. Those are the 3 aspects that are covered in the contract and the proposal. Next slide, please. So we'll take a look at specifically each one of those. The facility study and space utilization analysis, I've given you an example from the 2014 assessment, and a couple of things that you'll notice when we talk about a facility study. It will basically take a look at the facility. You will get a matrix of the items and the components of the building, whether it's HVAC, whatever the components that make up that building, that make up that facility, and what type of condition they're in. And so you notice in the example, it's also color-coded. This is the space utilization analysis. Some of the colors represent educational spaces, some athletic spaces. What we want to do in the space utilization is see specifically how the space is being utilized and could it potentially be utilized better. Is the space basically being outgrown? I know you have a very robust CTE program, so we look at the spaces that are being utilized to see specifically is more space needed, or could something be modified to accommodate that program better. Next slide, please. So as we look at each component, the facility condition assessment, and I'm going to get you to reference once again the exhibit that you have so that you have some idea of what the cost component for each item is. So the facility condition assessment, which is basically a general condition of the district assets, you get a summary, a synopsis of what that is. We'll also interview your staff, and that gives us the opportunity to really understand how the space is being utilized and some of the things that Mrs. Zamora and her team have put in place so that we understand what building components are working effectively and how it is for the end user. Also looking at the operational needs of the existing facilities. And so as we look at that facility condition assessment, that comprises approximately 52% of the contract value, if you'll notice there. And that's the largest component of the contract in the proposal. Following that, we have what we call the district profile. So we want to understand the district, what we call the ed specs, the tech specs, the district standards, and the space utilization study. All those items comprise about 19% of the contract value as well. Another component, as you see, is the long-range planning. We want to be able to take a look at the future educational delivery and the grade level and program alignment. And with that, that'll allow us to plan, understand how you want to do educational delivery, and then make sure that the facilities will basically support and advocate your educational delivery. We'll review your current district situation, what facilities are being used, what the student population is like in each of those facilities. We'll review your goals for the next 5, 10, 20 years in our long-range planning. And then we'll determine a capital improvement needs for each of those facilities as part of the long-range planning. The next portion, if we can go to the next slide, please. Master plan development. That's about 3%, if you notice, of the breakdown of the contract value. And the master plan development basically takes all of the information, if you will. It's a compilation of the facility assessment data, the long-range planning data, and it allows you to begin to plan for a bond program. It also gives the opportunity to prioritize basically, the things that are needed most and first. Are there code items? Are there safety and security items? Does there need to be student population relief? What needs to be accommodated? So we then begin to develop a plan, and that prioritization process, again, is collaborative. It includes district leadership and the Board of Trustees. You'll get a chance to analyze the data, and you determine what needs to happen first and explore possible alternatives. With that, we also develop the scope and project priority list. Okay. Next slide, please. So once we have all of this information and you've been given the data, obviously we've want to engage the community members, local businesses, partners, and other stakeholders so that ultimately a recommendation can be made based on the data that's been comprised based on the facility assessment information, so that you have all the information that you need to make intelligent decisions based on your ultimate goals. And so in the bond program development portion, that's about 6% of the cost of the contract. We want to guide the district through the process. That includes developing a bond steering committee and meeting agendas. We want to develop cost estimates. That's very important. Cost estimates and schedules and program of requirements for each project studied and recommended by the committee so that you'll have accurate numbers that take into account inflation and other items that we see happening in the market as well. So you'll have good data to be able to make those decisions. And then finally, you'll notice the bond election informational campaign. That comprises about 5% of the cost of the proposal and the contract. And that's where our community engagement department is going to assist the district with the planning, development, and implementation of a bond informational program, basically educating the community and the committee on the bond, what it's comprised of, and the priorities ultimately that are needed for it, so that you receive a recommendation from your committee and know how to proceed based on the specific and customized needs for Duncanville ISD. Next slide, please. And the timeline for this, looking at November 2023 bond election, you can see in this first phase, we're looking at really the long-range planning and the master planning and the basically the guiding information for demographics, finances, educational methodology, district standards, all of those items we take a look at. Then we look at the facilities, which we call boots on the ground. That's basically where we get teams on the ground to basically literally walk the facility. Again, work with Mrs. Zamora's team to make sure that we have accurate information. They keep great data on HVAC units, other things that have been replaced that continue to have value and life, so that there's no redundancy or replacing those before their life cycle. So basically, through February, March through now, we would be able to start the assessment. Should you decide to approve the proposal, and the facility assessment will build upon the 2014 assessment. And the great news about that is, since we did the 2014 assessment, there's some information that is static that we can be able to utilize and build upon. We've gained some efficiencies by being able to do that and be able not only to turn it around quickly, but make sure that you have great data. Now, some things have changed, some things have gotten worse in terms of facilities, so that will be captured in the data that will be given to you so that you can make prioritization decisions. And so the long-range planning and campus master planning, we're saying that can happen from March through May. So we're looking at basically a 90-day or so timeline to be able to get this completed, to compile this into a report that you get the opportunity to review and understand, and then we will finalize that report. It'll go from draft to final report, and all the information will be, again, presented in a user-friendly way so that data can be analyzed and then matched against the priorities that you have for the district. So that being said, next slide, please. For your consideration, we're looking at the approval of the Huckabee proposal for the facilities assessment, space utilization analysis, and the bond planning, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Do I have a motion to approve the contract with Huckabee for a comprehensive facility study and bond consultation services for the amount in the attached agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Colton moved and Trustee Ivory seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Trustee Fahey.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, this is a question for Dr. Smith. Are we using Huckabee because they did our 2014, or did we send out bids from other architectural firms?
A little bit of both. So yes, we have a long-standing relationship with Huckabee, and the aggressive timeline that we are on, it was very beneficial to be able to utilize a team that was familiar with us, that had good command of our facilities. We did go through a vetting process. There were multiple, and Dr. Alaska, correct, maybe 5 or 6 or so. If you remember the exact number? 4, okay. So we had 4 different firms come in, and we had a bidding process, and Huckabee won the process. And part of it was really some of their familiarity with our programming. And again, for me, the aggressive timeline that we have. It admittedly is an aggressive timeline, and so I wanted to be sure that we could facilitate this process sooner rather than later.
The information that they provided us all the way along in that process in 2014 was just, you can't even put a price on that. So I think it was without a doubt. I don't even have to look at the other ones, but I think Huckabee all the way.
Thank you. Very kind of you. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Trustee Colton?
So the presentation and the documents that you provide are very comprehensive. And, you know, I just wanted to point that out as we were talking about, you know, entertaining other firms. And so one of the things that I would like to note is professional services contracts such as this one cannot be bid out. You can accept proposals, but it was an RFP, right?
Correct. It was
Yes.
qualifications based.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so I just wanted to make that clarification, but I'm very impressed by the information. You know, the fact that we're gonna review all of our facilities, looking at all the major systems, and then also we're gonna look at demographics to see what's coming and what we need to plan for, so, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Colton.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion?
Thank you for staying so late.
Oh, no problem.
How many of these do you do? About once a week?
No.
Mr. Bracken, I have a question.
Yes.
So, should we expect the report in May?
Yes.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, I don't know if you know the answer to this one, but about how many hours do you all spend conducting the facility condition assessment?
Well, Trustee Phillips, it's really, there's several components of it, and the biggest component is to get boots on the ground. It obviously takes a lot of staff and a lot of hours to walk the facilities, to conduct interviews with the staff. And so, if I may respond this way, is that we have the bandwidth and the horsepower to do it based on the schedule, but there are a lot of hours. I can get them for you specifically, but they are very significant. So cumulatively, it's probably around 1,200 to 1,500 hours.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Thank you, Mr. Bracken.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity to serve and partner with Duncanville ISD. We appreciate it.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion has passed, 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to action item J, cancellation of the school board election for May 6, 2023, to elect trustees for places 4 and 5. The presenter is Dr. Ed Bigby.
Good morning. Good evening. Short timers. Madam Vice President, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure to bring you this item canceling the election since everybody was scared to run against Ms. Phillips or Dr. Ivory. There were no other contestants, so by law you have to approve the cancellation of the election, and that's what this item's all about.
Yes.
Pretty cut and dried.
Okay. So, thank you, Dr. Bigby. Do I have a motion to approve the order of canceling the May 6, 2023 School Board of Trustee election as presented?
So moved.
And everybody said?
We're going to try to harmonize. I think we just need to harmonize.
Trustee, okay, who seconded that motion?
All of us.
Yeah.
Okay, Trustee Janice Savage Martin moved, and Trustee Fahey seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? Dr. Ivory?
I just have a comment. Although we didn't have to campaign, I don't take it lightly to serve a second term on this board. I appreciate Dr. Smith's leadership and my team members and even the voters. So while we didn't have to campaign, I would like to take this time to just thank everybody for allowing me to serve again.
I second that.
I second and third it and fourth it.
Any other questions, comments?
I just wanted to ask Dr. Bigby, I think our taxpayers would be interested in knowing that canceling an election means that we save about $10,000. I mean, elections cost
Closer
us.
to 40,000.
40? Oh, my goodness, yippee.
Dr. Bigby, would you go over that one more time? How much money was saved
Yeah.
canceling this
Typically,
election?
the way they've gone out and the way they've required new things with the election, our share was about $40,000.
40,000.
40,000.
Thank you, Dr. Bigby. And thanks for asking that question.
So you
or
guys
making
need
that
a
comment.
raise.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passed 6-0. Thank you, Dr. Bigby. And looks like you're still up. So we will now move to information and discussion items. The first item is the budget update for 2023-2024 budget, and the presenter is Dr. Ed Bigby.
Good evening again. As soon as we get this up, we'll get moving. There, that's good. This is the same timeline that you've looked at from the beginning. We're now down toward the end of the second row, where all the budgets are out to the campuses and departments. They've got a March 30th deadline to turn those in, along with any additional budget requests that they may have, and then we'll begin compiling that and prioritizing those. And hopefully we'll have some money to fund some of those. We certainly don't know right now because of the legislature's up and down. And as Dr. Smith mentioned earlier, there's more bills filed this year than ever have been filed in this session. So, and many of them deal with education, and actually one or two of them actually fund some of it. Next slide. Let's talk again about how we determine our revenue. Remember, there's enrollment, which is the total number of students, the funding enrollment, because our pre-K kids only count 1/2. So we have to take half of those off as far as funding. And then, of course, the average daily attendance is how many of them show up of those funding enrollment. Currently, we 11/9/21, that's 11, it's a little over 11/9 today, which historically, that number beginning in February really starts to dive our enrollment, and knock on wood, so far this year it hasn't done that. So we're very hopeful that it'll hold up. Projected enrollment next year is 11,842. That's because we're graduating more kids than we're projecting will come into lower grades. And then the funding enrollment, 11,513. It's really hard to guess some of that because we don't know who's going to come for pre-K or who's going to come even for kindergarten, since they don't have to. Okay, next slide. Possibility that things could influence it. Once again, there's some talk about whether they should fund by enrollment or average daily attendance. I don't know that that'll get a lot of play because it'll be expensive. It would certainly be better for our district. There talks two different versions of increasing the basic allotment. I'm meeting with one of Moken Casey's people is coming by. He actually used to be the commissioner of finance at TEA. We're going to discuss some of that in depth because there's some fallacies when they increase the basic allotment and they dictate how we spend some of that. In fact, I figured out today one of the bills said they'd increase it by $50. Well, when they do, that would allow us, by the time all the categorical spending rises, and it also says 50% of it be spent on raises for teachers, counselors, and nurses, it left us about $35 from the addition to work with, and it would give somewhere around a $300 raise to the teachers. So it's some pretty bad math if that's what takes place, but we're working on that. Increased safety allotment, we will see some more money in safety. Just how it comes about, no one knows. Salary increases, that's certainly been talked about and needed. And we'll get some unfunded mandates just as we do every time they're in Austin. Property value adjustments, there's some bills out there, and I'll talk about those a little bit later, that right now it's capped at 10%. Your property value can't go up more than 10% in 1 year and on homesteads. And there's some bills out there that are capped out at 5%. And that has some real deep ramifications for paying for debt. But I'll summarize that at the end. ADA fluctuations, you know how that schedules, and then scheduling and calendar adjustments, and I don't think there'll be anything from the legislature that deals with any of that. Next slide. Revenue and expenditures and trends over the last few years. You can see from 17, 18, 18, 19, and 19, 20, we spent less than we took in, which to help build the positive fund balance that we have, and then COVID came along, and because we didn't have the kids here, we were covered by hold harmless, but it wasn't near enough to generate enough revenue, so we spent more money than we took in that year, and then pretty well broke even in 21, 22. So we're still in great shape, but who knows what's going to come out here. We should be fine this year as far as revenue versus expenditures. Enrollment trends, you can see from 17, 18, from almost 12,800 to this year of 11,921. That's a drop, but it is an increase this year over what we had last year, which is a good plus. I think part of that's the choice programs, part of it's the 3-year-old pre-K that was started, and it seems to be very successful. But over those years, we've actually lost about 7% of our enrollment. Okay, next slide. Revenues for this year, you can see the local revenue. We budgeted almost 58 million. We've collected over 58 million. So that negative is wonderful when you talk about revenue. It means we've collected more revenue than what we budgeted. Part of that's because of tax collections, and part of it's how we budgeted it to start with. But amazingly, we're in a property poor district with an extremely good collection rate on taxes. So that's where most of that came from. State revenue budgeted 61 million, 30 million. They're always very slow at letting go of their money, so we expect all of that will come in by the end of the year. And same thing with the federal government. They like to hang on to that money as long as they can. But we feel like our revenue is going to be fine by the end of the year. Okay, next slide. Assumptions as we look at revenue for next year is we have to assume there's no change in the current law. There probably will be, but we built it initially to start with no changes. Once again, our ADA is going to be a little bit lower than this year. Values will probably increase somewhere between 5 and 10%. The appraisal district is thinking more like around 8%. State increase for safety, and then state increase for teacher pay, which never does actually equal what we're trying to pay them or should be paying them. Expenditures, everything's going up. Gasoline actually is going down a little bit, but everything else is not following suit. Every year, the district's contribution to TRS goes up by 0.25%. Doesn't sound like much, but when you talk about this big a district, it gets expensive, and that's because the state doesn't want to fund it. Health insurance costs, we're assuming they'll go up. We didn't get an increase last year. They used some surplus money, and hopefully they'll do that again with some of the surplus money, but we haven't seen anything like that. And then whatever state mandates might happen on salaries. Okay, next slide. Just as a very rough beginning of looking at revenue, we're looking at probably a local revenue increase of $5 million, a state revenue decrease of 4.8. Remember, it pretty well offsets. Once one goes up, one goes down, and this is even after they altered the formula for next year to in the Tier 2 money. It actually goes up, but still, that's why they're not 5.2 million less. Federal revenue, we don't see any change in that. So overall, we're projecting maybe a $483,000 more revenue than what we had this year. And then on a $126 million budget, that's not much. Okay, next slide. This is looking at fund balance. At the end of the year, we're projecting that to be at about $65 million. which is good, and you've been very good at getting it there. A breakdown of that on the right-hand side, reserve, the state and accounting principles make you reserve a certain amount of it to pay for incidentals, inventory that you've got, and we've got some retirement costs that go in there. It's about $21 million. If you remember, we talked about cash flow during the summer. When we're not getting any money, that's about $30 million. So that leaves you a little over $13 million of that that's spendable. I'm not recommending you spend it, but it's at your discretion that would get us down to where we were pretty well flat as far as what we had in fund balance. Even though it looks great, there's a lot of that that's been committed in other areas. Okay, next slide. Good old ESSER. It's a great word, but it's getting to be a dirty one. If you remember ESSER 1, this was a long time ago, back in the COVID days when they gave us some funding so we could continue paying our employees. That was $4.3 million. That's all gone. It was gone that year. ESSER 2, $11.7 million. That'll all be gone at the end of this year because, well, first of all, it has to be, but we're down to where there's virtually all of it gone now anyway. In ESSER 3, there was $24.9 million in it, and you can see on the right-hand side there's about $6.1 million of that's there, but a lot of that's committed to. Remember last year when we gave the salary increases, we paid $6.7 million out of those, out of ESSER 1 or 2 and ESSER 3 this year, and $4 million of that is going toward those salaries for next year. So we haven't got those covered yet, so we'll be doing that out of the ESSER funds next year. So that's the salary increases and the longevity pay. If you remember, you put in the longevity pay for people with 15 years or more. So that was where that money was taken from ESSER. Next slide. I want to mention, and I know it's getting late, but I was on a webinar with Moke and Casey today, and they were talking about the compressing from 10% maximum to 5%. And that's well and good for all the taxpayers because your property value doesn't go up more than that. But if you're trying to pay your debt and you've set your debt schedule up to where it takes an 8 or a 9% property value increase every year to keep from raising the tax rate, that's a killer. And we're not that way. We're very fortunate that the debt schedule here is flat, so it doesn't have to accelerate to pay it. And the bond projections that were presented to you last month, the conservative end of that was less than 5% increase a year. Now, the one that was a little more flowery and optimistic bumped up above, a little bit above 5%. So we as a district are in pretty good shape, but there's going to be some that crushes as far as being able to pay their debt because their debt schedule looks like this and they have to raise more money every year to pay it. So through the years, you guys have been very, very smart about how you handle that debt. They also were discussing vouchers or whatever they're calling them something, but yeah, which is a voucher. It's French for a voucher. But those have always been stopped in the House. The Senate seems to want to go with it in the House, which are more the blue-collar people, have stopped it. The Public Ed Committee, where that would have to go through the committee to get out, there's 13 members. 10 of them historically have been against vouchers. Now, it doesn't mean that since the governor's pressuring that some of that won't change because most of them are Republicans, but historically at least they've stood against vouchers in the past. So that's a plus because it's getting more play. It's never gotten the play from the governor before, but he's kind of pushing that now. So hopefully the House will keep up with that. And that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer questions or anything you might have.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion for Dr. Bigby? No? Thank you, Dr. Bigby. Okay, we will move to the information discussion agenda item B, school nutrition report. The presenter is Mari Zamora.
Good evening again. I'm happy to introduce to you another wonderful leader in our operations team, Ms. Tracy Markham. She's our Director of Nutrition Services. We'll be providing you a department update. Ms. Markham?
Thank you, Ms. Zamora. Good evening, Madam Vice President, Dr. Smith, and Board of Trustees. I appreciate the opportunity to share some updates on the Nutrition Services Department this evening. The mission of our department is to provide the most nutritious, appetizing, and affordable meals possible to students throughout our district. Next slide, please. The department highlights we have for the school year include new administrators, one of which is myself as a department director, and promoting a cafeteria manager to a field supervisor position where she manages 8 campus kitchens. We provide ongoing professional development to all of our staff. We start off in the year with in-person training. We provide monthly safety trainings and also take advantage of Texas Department of Agriculture and Region 10 training resources. We have reinstated in-person monthly manager meetings. This assures that we can provide information to the managers one-on-one and in person, and we also can communicate with the managers their individual needs. We have an Employee of the Month program spotlighting the great work of a team member each month. March celebrated National School Breakfast Week, where students were encouraged to start their day off with a healthy school breakfast. The first Friday in each May is School Lunch Hero Day. We will be honoring Duncanville ISD Lunch Heroes on May the 5th for the hard work they put in every day to give nutrition to the students. The last thing is the meal price changes approved by the board for this school year were put in place and have been implemented. Next slide, please. We have some pictures here. We believe staff engagement means spending time with the entire Duncanville ISD family within our own department and the community. On Back to School Night, we offer information on submitting free and reduced lunch applications, menus, meal prices, payment options, and nutritional information as well. Pictured on the bottom left, employees got together before winter break to receive new uniform shirts, to socialize and get a holiday treat before break. And on the bottom right, we have our first Employee of the Month for February. Juan Medina is pictured with the warehouse supervisor, Leslie Edwards. Next slide. So for 22-23, we have served over 1.1 million meals so far. 83% of our students qualify for free or reduced price meals in the district. Our after-school snack program is available to any campus offering after-school enrichment activities. We offer after-school snacks at Alexander, Central, Fair Meadows, and Kennemer. And as the number of tutoring programs grow and you get ready for testing, we're adding more campuses all the time. As always, we'll be providing a summer feeding program this year, making meals free to anyone ages 0 to 18 with no applications required, regardless of their economic status. We're in the planning phase for that right now, where we're working on locations, menus, and staffing for summer. Okay, next slide. We're excited already to be planning for 23-24, and we have several things going. Over here. We are up for review with the Texas Department of Agriculture. Every 4 years, this is a federally mandated review, and ours will be next year. We have a new point-of-sale hardware that was approved by this school board that will be in by the end of the month and installed and operational for school startup in 23-24. So thank you very much for approving the much-needed equipment. We will be participating in the Texas Department of Agriculture's Farm Fresh Challenge in October of 2023. We'll be offering at least 3 locally sourced menu items per week and providing nutrition education about the locally sourced items. We're launching a student and parent advisory menu committee where we will be getting feedback on the menu item offerings and getting new tastes for the students. We're launching also surveys to the students that will happen at least 6 times over the course of the year, 2 for elementary, 2 for middle, and 2 for high school. We're really excited about our menu enhancements for next year. So we have 6 new breakfast items. K through 8th grade will have 12 new entrees for lunch. K through 8 will now also have 2 entree options every day. And high school will be seeing 9 new entree items. Next slide, please. I just want to thank you for taking this time and staying this late and letting me present tonight. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion?
Nope. All right, thank you so much.
One moment,
Oh,
please.
yes.
Trustee Colton.
I would just like to say you all are doing a great job, and we appreciate, what you do day in and day out, to make sure that our students have nutritious food. So thank you very much, you and your staff.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Markham. Okay, we will move to the information discussion agenda item C, safety and security update, and the presenter is Chief Mitchell Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith. Top priority of the Duncanville Independent School District of the state of Texas is keeping students safe and to keep them safe every day. The Texas School Safety Center recently conducted an intruder detection audit at one or more of our campuses. The audits test whether a campus is accessible to an unauthorized individual. This audit conducted as a part of the Governor Abbott school safety directives for all school safety systems following the tragedy in Uvalde. This audit seeks to help districts identify how campuses can improve safety for students, such as ensuring exterior doors are locked. The audit provides us with an opportunity to create a safer learning environment with minor safety adjustments to our safety for our students and staff. We are working closely with our District School Safety Center Committee to ensure that we are training all our staff and securing our doors for the protection of everyone on our campuses. The support from the state in conducting the intruder detection audits is just one of the many actions we are taking to ensure our schools are safe. We know that this work does not end, and we appreciate the board's support. We acknowledge that the parents and the community members are likely very interested in the details of the audit results. However, it is in the best interest of the students that we do not share this information to the broader public, as it could lead to compromising important campus security information. Specific details of the intruder detection audit will be discussed in the executive session with the Safety and Security Committee. Duncanville Independent School District is committed to providing a safe and secure learning environment for our students and staff. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion for Chief Lambert? Thank you, Chief Lambert.
Thank you, ma'am.
We will now move to communications from citizens. And we do not have any communications from citizens. So being that there are no further items to discuss, guess what? This meeting is adjourned.